Hello everyone, welcome back to this session of English. In this session, we are going to continue with our topic connectors. Now, this is part 8. Well, in part 7, we started discussing contradictory prepositions. Those are the parts of connectors. In this session, we are going to discuss some more contradictory prepositions, and those are in spite of, despite, and contrary to. Well, in last session, we discussed notwithstanding. That was again a contradictory preposition. So in this session we are going to discuss in spite of, in despite, and moreover we are going to discuss contrary to. Well, let me tell you that both these words, in spite of and despite, they both are same in meaning and the both can be substituted. What is the main difference? That is the difference of preposition of. Within spite we necessarily use of, this is mandatory, but with despite we do not use preposition of. Now this comes in case of spotting errors as well. Many times it happens that we are given despite of, which is grammatically incorrect, and only there the mistake is there, this error is there in the sentence that we have to identify. So this is the basic difference and the most important difference between in spite of and despite. Also, this in spite, these two are separate words. In spite, we cannot use in spite altogether or both together. So let's begin with the session. Let's begin the session. So first, we are going to discuss in spite of. The meaning of in spite of. Now, it is just as we used notwithstanding. This can be the substitute of that particular word. In spite of is a preposition used to indicate that something happens or is true despite something else that might have prevented it. It means, again, we have two clauses in which one contradicts the other, or one shows the adverse situation whereas another shows the positive outcome of it. Or first of all, we should think that both the statements or both the clauses are contradictory with each other. They should not be according to the expectation or the outcome, whatever it is, whether positive or negative. That should not be according to the condition given. In fact, it should contrast the condition that is given. This phrase is used to introduce a contrasting condition. Here we will introduce a contrasting condition with the word in spite of, showing that one thing occurs regardless, now this one is very, very important, regardless of the existence or occurrence of another. Potentially hindering factors. Usage of in spite of. Now, how to use this word? To indicate contradiction or contrast. So this is the important and major function of in spite of, that is, it indicates contradiction or contrast. In spite of heavy rain, now let us have an example. In spite of the heavy rain, the outdoor concert went ahead as planned. So there was heavy rain, because of which the concert could be cancelled, yet it was not cancelled. In fact, it did not get affected because of that heavy rain. Instead, the outdoor concert went ahead as planned. It did not get disturbed. It went as planned, according to the planning. It did not get disturbed just because of that heavy rain. So here we can use in spite of just to show that there is condition of heavy rain, but the outcome was just opposite. The outcome was just contradictory with the expectation of the heavy rain. This sentence shows the event occurred even though there was a condition, that is heavy rain, that could have hindered it. So it is just used as notwithstanding, despite, or other words that we have learned till now. In fact, connectors means the same, that two statements are there, which you can say two statements are there or two clauses are there which are joined with the help of connectors. But connectors can be not just contradictory, they can be other as well. But here we are just doing contradictory conjunctions and prepositions, so we have been doing those. So in this session we are going to discuss contradictory prepositions only. Now let us move to the next one. To highlight resilience or persistence. In spite of numerous setbacks, the team managed to complete the project on time. So here we can say that in spite of numerous setbacks, it means there were difficulties, the team managed to complete the project on time because there were many things. So it was considered that maybe it will take a lot of time, or maybe it will not be completed by time, but yet the team managed to do so in spite of having many difficulties or numerous setbacks, or you can say uh, many number of tasks there were. In spite is used to emphasize that the team achieved their goal despite facing several difficulties. Now let us move to the next one. To show unaffected outcome in adverse situations. In spite of his lack of experience, he did an excellent job. So, though he was not experienced, he did an excellent job. Yet, he did an excellent job shows that uh, his lack of experience did not affect his work. This example illustrates that the person performed well regardless of a potentially limiting factor, that is, lack of experience. Now, let us move to the next example. To express surprising or unexpected results. In spite of critics' negative reviews, the movie was a box office success. Now, in this part, you can see that there was a surprising or unexpected result. There were negative critics' reviews, there were negative reviews. So, the expectation was that the outcome will not be good, yet the movie was a box office success. So uh, it has shown some positive result, though the expectation was negative. So this was just surprising, this was just unexpected. So here we can use it, we can use in spite of to show this result. The phrase is used here to convey that the movie succeeded financially even though it received negative reviews, which is a surprising outcome. Now let us move to the next one. To compare and contrast different elements. In spite of the cold weather, the turnout for the parade was high. It means there were many people for the parade, though there was cold weather. So it was just expected that the people will stay home, they will not join the parade, they will not be there to see the parade. Yet, the people came over there and the turnout for the parade was high. This shows a contrast between the discouraging factor, that is cold weather, and the positive outcome, that is high turnout. So here positive negative are all together, and we are using in spite of just to show that adverse condition. Now let us move to the next one. Structure of in spite of. The general structure can be outlined as follows. First of all, we have in spite of, after that noun or noun phrase or gerund. Now gerund is again very important, because if there is a gerund, suppose if there is a verb, it should be in ing form only, and that is a gerund, that is called gerund, just because of is a preposition, and after any preposition we only have verb plus ing. That is it, we have already learned this earlier as well. After that we have main clause in the sentence. For example, noun, noun phrase or gerund. Following in spite of, you will find the noun, a noun phrase or a gerund, that is verb in its ing form. This part of the sentence represents the condition, fact or situation that is being contrasted with or is contradictory to the main statement. Now, what is the main clause? This is the primary statement or assertion of the sentence, which stands in the contrast or is unaffected by the condition introduced by the word in spite of. So, whatever the condition is there, which has been introduced by the word in spite of, or the preposition in spite of, the unaffected, the result will be unaffected, the outcome will be unaffected, and that is known as the main clause. In spite of the bad weather, so this is the adverse condition, the event was a great success. So this is the main clause or the outcome, but the condition was adverse. So this is the subordinate or the clause which contains the word in spite of. The bad weather is the noun phrase that is introduced by the word in spite of. The event was a great success is the main clause that presents the primary assertion. So this is how we can use the word in spite of. Now, if I want to use in spite of in the middle of the sentence, the entire clause, this entire clause will be shifted, this entire phrase will be shifted to the next part. That is, the event was a great success in spite of the bad weather. So we can use this sentence in this manner as well. I hope you understood this. Well, let us move to the next one. Again, let us have another example. In spite of having a headache, she finished her work. So, though she had a headache, she finished her work. Having a headache is a gerund phrase. Now, having. She finished her work is the main clause. Now, let us move to the next clause, next sentence. Rules associated with in spite of. Contrast introduction. In spite of is used to introduce a noun phrase or gerund that expresses a contrast or contradiction to the main part of the sentence. Now we just want that if there is a verb, it should be an ing, whether that is a participle or that is a gerund. That's it. Now let us move to the next one. For example, in spite of the rain, the picnic was enjoyable. So the rain is noun and the picnic was enjoyable. This is the main clause. Now let us move to the next one. Noun, noun phrase, or gerund. Now, what are nouns, noun phrases, and gerunds? The phrase in spite of must be followed by a noun phrase or a gerund, verb in its ing form, not by a clause. Example, if I say, in spite of it was difficult, we succeeded. So, this is the entire clause which has subject plus verb plus object or subject complement. So, here we have a subject complement. So, this is subject complement, or you can say adjective. So, this is the entire clause. So, after in spite of, we cannot use the entire clause. This will be incorrect. Instead, it should have just the noun clause or the noun phrase. So, in spite of the difficulty, now difficulty is a noun, difficult is adjective. We succeeded. So, this is the correct sentence, whereas the sentence which was above is incorrect. Now, let us move to the next one. So the third point is no effect on the main clause. It means whatever the subordinate clause over there or whatever the noun phrase is there, it does not affect the main clause. Actually, we have two words. One is effect. Now this effect is a noun, and effect, that is AFFECT, that is a verb. So no effect on the main clause. It means it will not affect the main clause. The use of in spite of does not alter the grammatical structure of the main clause. For example, in spite of the challenges, they remained optimistic. Now, the remained optimistic is the past tense, and here, whatever it is, it should not change the main clause grammatically, in spite of the challenges. Though, however many challenges they face, they will remain optimistic. That is, optimistic refers to one who always see the positive views or always on the positive side of anything. Interchangeability with despite. In spite of, is similar in meaning and function to despite, and they can often be used interchangeably. The main difference is just of. In spite carries of, whereas despite cannot carry the preposition of. This is the only and a major difference. In spite of, or the despite the bad weather, the event was a success. So we can use any of the two, either of the two words to show this, in spite of or despite. The bad weather, the event was a success. The meaning of both the prepositions are same. Now let us have some examples of in spite of. In spite of heavy snow, the marathon was still held. So this was the adverse situation, whereas the result was positive. In spite of her initial reluctance, no, here she is negative. She ended up enjoying the event. So this is positive outcome. In spite of facing numerous challenges, he managed to complete his degree. In spite of repeated failures, she never gave up on her dream. In spite of the economic crisis, the business thrived. In spite of losing its biggest investor, the startup continued to grow. In spite of the critics' harsh comments, the play was a huge success. In spite of its low budget, the film won several international awards. In spite of the modern design, The building retained its historical charm. In spite of his professional achievements, he remained humble and approachable. In spite of all the difficulties, the relationship remained strong. In spite of risks involved, they decided to proceed with the venture. So these were some examples of in spite of. Now let us discuss the word despite. Well, despite means same as we use in spite of. So we'll just proceed it thoroughly but fast. Despite is used to express that an action was carried out or a state was maintained in spite of certain challenges or obstacles. It is a useful prepositional phrase for conveying resilience, unexpected outcomes, or their irrelevance of certain hindrances or obstacles to the outcome of a situation. Uses of despite introduces the noun as we did in spite of, where in spite of introduces the noun or the noun phrase or the gerund. Here again in the despite clause we will have either a noun or the noun phrase or the gerund, but not a full clause with the subject and verb. It is often used interchangeably with in spite of, though despite is more concise. The primary function of despite is to introduce a contrasting element of the main statement of the sentence, often emphasizing resilience, unexpected outcomes, or the irrelevance of certain hindrances or obstacles to the outcome of a situation. It means whatever the situation was there, whatever the condition was there, it will not hinder the outcome that we will get, because outcome is just uh, unaffected from the despite or the in spite of clause. To express contradiction or contrast. So, this is the main function of using these types of prepositions, that they show contrast and contradiction. Despite the heavy rain, the football match was not cancelled. It means it was not affected at all, whereas despite the heavy rain. Despite her young age, she has achieved remarkable success. So, this is how we can use despite. To highlight resilience or persistence, despite numerous setbacks, he never lost hope. Despite facing strong competition, the small company thrived. So here, facing strong competition. It is competition. So this is the negative um strategy, or you can say negative impact, or the negative thing about a project. The small company thrived, yet the result is positive. To indicate an unaffected outcome in challenging situations. For example, despite the economic downturn, their profits increased. Despite limited resources, the event was a huge success. So, this is how we can use these uh, prepositional phrases, or you can say prepositions. Now, we'll discuss another point, that is to indicate an unaffected outcome in challenging situations. Despite the economic downturn, their profits increased. Now you can see that we have read such examples in case of in spite of as well. So in spite of and despite, they both are same. The basic difference is, that is the use of with in spite and not with the word despite. This is it. Otherwise both the words are same. Despite limited resources, the event was a huge success. To illustrate surprising or unexpected results, despite receiving poor reviews, the movie became a blockbuster. Despite being a novice means inexperienced, she won the chess tournament. So, though she was a novice, or you can say that she lacks experience, or she did not have experience, yet she won the chess tournament. To compare and contrast different elements, despite the simplicity of the recipe, the dish tastes exquisite. Despite the advancements in technology, some prefer traditional methods. Structure of despite plus noun or noun phrase or gerund. After that, we have a main clause. So this is just as in spite of. We have the simple and the straight structure, that is after despite we have either a noun phrase or the gerund. And another part will be of main clause. So the despite clause or in spite of clause should contain noun or the noun phrase or the gerund, Gerund means verb plus ing that behaves like a noun. This is the preposition that introduces the contrast or contradiction. Noun, noun phrase, or gerund. Following despite, you will find either a noun phrase, or a gerund, a verb in its ing form. This part of the sentence represents the condition, fact, or situation that is being contrasted with or is contradictory to the main statement. So, you can say, suppose we have a subject, and after that we have any word, whether it is a verb or whether it is an adjective, whether it is an objective clause or whether it is a subject complement, that is just known as phrase. The main clause, this is the primary statement or assertion of the sentence which stands in contrast to or is unaffected by the condition introduced by the despite clause. So this is very, very important again. Now let us have some examples. Despite the bad weather, the festival was a great success. The bad weather is a noun phrase introduced by despite, whereas the festival was great success is the main clause that represents primary assertion. Now, this is the example, and these are the bullet points which we are showing the explanations. These are the explanations of this point. Now, this one is the second example. These are the points of explanation. So, these are the bullet points. Despite feeling unwell, he completed the marathon. Feeling unwell is a gerund phrase, whereas he completed the marathon is the main clause. Rules associated with despite, introducing contrast or contradiction. Despite is used to introduce a noun phrase, or gerund that provides contrast or contradiction to the main clause or the of the sentence. For example, despite the heavy rain, the parade continued as planned. So, as there was heavy rain, so it was expected that the parade will be cancelled. Yet, the parade continued as planned. It was executed uh, as planned. So, here the heavy rain did not affect the parade. Now let us move to the next one. Following by noun, noun phrase, or gerund. It means whenever we have the word despite, after that we should have either the noun or the noun phrase or the gerund. Should be followed by a noun phrase, or gerund. Gerund means verb plus ing, form of a verb. But not by a full clause with the subject and the verb. But it should not be followed by the entire clause. Now let us move to the next one. For example, if it is written despite it was cold, they went hiking. So that will be incorrect. Instead, we should write despite the cold weather, they went hiking. So this is how we should write the word with despite, or the sentence with despite. No direct clause following. Unlike conjunctions such as although or though, despite cannot be directly followed by a clause containing a subject and a verb. Now, for example, despite he had no experience, John performed well. Now, in this sentence, you can see the entire clause, which is not correct. It should be, despite his lack of experience, John performed well. This will be the correct sentence. Now, let us move to the next one. Interchangeable with in spite of. Despite is similar in meaning to the in spite of and can be used interchangeably. Despite or in spite of late hour, the streets were bustling. So, there is only the single differences of preposition. Now, examples of despite the storm, the festival proceeded. Despite her fear, she spoke confidently. Despite setbacks, he completed his project. Despite criticism, she continued her research. Despite the recession, the business flourished. Despite a tight budget, the film was successful. Despite bad reviews, the novel became a bestseller. Despite being a newcomer, he won the race. Despite its age, the car runs well. Despite technological advances, they prefer traditional methods. Despite the evidence, he maintained his innocence. Despite her qualifications, she remained humble. So, this is how we can use the word despite. Now, again, we are going to discuss one more contradictory preposition, and that is a phrase that is contrary to. Now, contrary itself says that it is showing some contradiction to the statement which has been said previously. Now, meaning of contrary to, it is particularly useful for emphasizing a difference or contradiction, often in a way that may be surprising or counterintuitive to the listener or reader. Counterintuitive means whatever has been said, it is just countering. It just counter the that particular information, or just insist it to counter. Contradiction, common beliefs or expectations. Contradicting. Contrary to popular opinion, he decided to retire early. So, contrary to popular opinion. So, popular opinion and thinking that this is not a good thing, he decided to retire early. Contrary to expectations, the movie was not a commercial success. So, contrary to expectations, it means whatever the expectations were positive, but contradictory to these positive expectations, the movie was not a commercial success. The result was negative. Correcting misconceptions or false assumptions. Contrary to the rumor. Now, rumor is negative. Now, contrary to, it means this negative negates itself. The restaurant is not closing down. Contrary to initial reports, the event was well attended. Now, let us move to the next one. Showing opposition in facts or situations. Contrary to her cheerful demeanor, she was actually very upset. Contrary to sunny forecast, the day was cloudy and rainy. So, whatever the expectation was there was not accepted or was negative. So, these two statements are positive, showing positiveness. Highlighting unusual or unexpected outcomes, contrary to what everyone has thought, the underdog team won the championship. Contrary to the trend, sales decreased this quarter. Setting the record straight. Contrary to the allegations, the company complied with all the regulations. Contrary to his public image, he is quite approachable and friendly. So you can see over here, contrary to his public image, it means whatever his public image was there, whether it was positive or negative, he is quite approachable and friendly. It means his image was negative, that he is not friendly at all, but he is friendly. So if we write contrary, it means both the statements, they contradict each other, they're opposite to each other. We are just adding contrary to that particular clause or that particular noun that is adverse about that particular or opposite about that particular noun or subject that has been said. Now let us move to the next one. Structure of contrary to. Contrary to plus noun or noun phrase, and then after that we have main clause. This preposition introduces the contrast or contradiction. Noun or noun phrase. After contrary to, you will find a noun or a noun phrase that represents the idea, belief, or situation that is being contradicted or opposed in the main part of the sentence. This is the primary statement of the. Now we are going to discuss main clause. Primary statement or assertion of the sentence, which presents information or a situation that is opposition to the idea or introduced by contrary to. For example, contrary to popular belief, the earth is not flat. It means it was believed that the earth was flat, but it is not actually. So, contrary to popular belief, it means whatever the popular belief, we should be contradictory to it, we should be opposite to it. The earth is not flat. Popular belief is the noun phrase introduced by contrary to. The earth is not flat is the outcome that has been shown in the main clause. Now let us move to the next one. Contrary to expectations, the play was a huge success. Expectations is the noun phrase. The play was a huge success is the main clause. Now, rules associated with contrary to. Introducing a contradiction or opposition. Contrary to is used to introduce a noun or a noun phrase that expresses a concept, belief, or situation that is direct opposition or contradiction to what is stated in the main clause of the sentence. It means whatever is there in the main clause, that is the information, and what is the information which is given in the on the contrary clause, that will be the expectation, but those will not occur in the main clause. The outcome will be something different to that or opposite to that which was expected. For example, contrary to popular belief, beds are not blind. So it was popularly believed that the beds are blind, but it is contrary to this fact. So this is a positive statement. Watch that the beds are not blind. Followed by noun or noun phrase. Contrary to must be followed by a noun or a noun phrase. It does not directly precede a full clause with the subject and the verb that we have done already in a case of in spite of and despite. This is also the same as that. Contrary to, it was forecasted. So it was forecasted is a clause, but it is not required. It rained heavily. So the correct sentence will be contrary to the forecast, it rained heavily. So this will be the correct sentence. Now let us move to the next one. Contrast with the main clause. The statement following contrary to should represent the fact or situation that contrasts with or opposes the idea introduced by the prepositional phrase. Example, contrary to expectations, the event was cancelled. It means the expectations were there, maybe the event should not be cancelled, yet the event was cancelled. So, this is the outcome. So, this is the main clause where the expectations or the condition that is given to us, that is contrary to. Now, let us move to the next one. Examples of contrary to. Contrary to popular opinion, he enjoys classical music. Contrary to common perception, the task was quite easy. Contrary to the rumor, she is not leaving the company. Contrary to initial reports, the event was well attended. Contrary to expectations, the product failed in the market. Contrary to the forecast, we experienced sunny weather. Contrary to his public image, he is very down to earth. Contrary to predictions, the movie was a critical success. Contrary to allegations, the data was not manipulated. So these are several sentences which we have made with the help of contrary to, in which one statement which is written in the clause of contrary to is just the condition which does not affect at all the outcome which is written in the main clause. So the information in both the clauses are just contradictory with each other. Also, the word that is contrary to, after that we do not have the entire clause. Is instead we only have either the noun or the noun phrase or the gerund, as we had in spite of and despite case. So I hope this much is clear to you all. Thanks to you.